Hey, what's up everyone? DFS Fast Picks here. I'm recording this on Super Bowl Sunday, so I hope you guys all had fun watching the Super Bowl. Congratulations to any Chiefs fans out there. Good to see Andy Reid get his first Super Bowl victory. And we have a 10-game slate here on Monday night for February 3rd for the NBA. So let's take a look at these games, quick game by game. I have kind of a idea for who's going to be in and out, so let's kind of mow through these games pretty quickly. It looks like Doncic is still out for Dallas, but he's been out for a few games now, so the price has kind of adjusted on some of these players. That being said, Porzingis should get a lot of usage in this game. It looks like he did get 36 minutes, took 20 field goal attempts versus Houston on the 31st. So at 7K, I think he's definitely in play versus Indiana, even though they're a decent defensive team. He should have a ton of usage with Doncic out. And Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith also played a lot of minutes and had some pretty big performances. Seth Curry is out, so depending on who they might rotate through the guard spot, might be some more Barea, DeLon Wright, Jalen Brunson. So keep your eye out on what those rotations might be like. Nothing too much in the cheap zone, but then the other standout news here is that Victor Oladipo is back in play, so keep an eye out for how many minutes he might be playing. He hasn't really shown much in the first two games coming back, so I don't know that I would really turn to him and count on him for more than about 20 minutes of play. But I think my standout for this game is definitely Porzingis, and overall I don't think this is that great of a game to stack on a 10-game slate. Golden State Washington, however, should be a better stackable game. D'Angelo Russell is questionable, so if he's out, definitely look for someone like Alec Burks to take quite a bit more shots and have more usage on the team. D'Angelo Russell takes a lot of shots, so those shots need to be distributed somewhere. Although he only took 17 and 14 in the last couple games, I think he's been dialing it back a little bit recently. So, but versus Washington, at an up-tempo pace, there should be a lot of shots to go along for some of these Golden State guys. I think Alec Burks and even potentially like Glenn Robinson stand out a little bit to me. You could also play Draymond Green if you want to. But in general, this could be a pretty interesting game to stack if you have the right pieces. Bradley Beal at 10-1 is starting to get to a more reasonable price, but he still has upside at the price, and Golden State is not exactly a great defensive team, although this is not an up-tempo game spot for Washington. So this could be a bit of a stinker for Bradley Beal, but who knows. Moving along, Orlando-Charlotte. This doesn't look like a great DFS game to me. Both teams play at a pretty slow pace, and I don't know that there's too much to talk about here, and whenever that's the case, I think it's just time to move on. But definitely check out news on PJ Washington, because if he's not in there, they have been rotating Cody Zeller and Marvin Williams through the power forward spot. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Fournier with a Q tag. Otherwise, none of this looks too appealing to me. New York, Cleveland. We have Kevin Love, who stands out to me the most. Should be in a really good spot. Randall, I guess, tweaked his ankle, so keep an eye out. If he's not in, there definitely could be some interesting spots opening up for New York. However, none of these guys are very good at actual basketball. These are two of the worst teams in the NBA, if not the two worst teams. So this could be kind of a crapshoot. Seti Osman is only 4.2, but he never does too much out on the court. This just stands out to me as a game where Kevin Love should more or less dominate. At 7.1, he definitely has quite a bit of upside. And on the New York side of things, I think Marcus Morris and Elfrid Payton stand out the most as guys who are guaranteed to get 30-plus if they're starting and playing, and could put up some pretty decent numbers for New York. Philly, Miami. This on paper looks like it shouldn't be that great of a spot, but it could also be a potentially close game. Nothing too much stands out to me, except notable is that Kendrick Nunn is playing and has played, I guess, a little bit recently, but he's having some Achilles problems, so his minutes have been limited. That being the case, Goran Dragic, who's been playing some decent minutes lately, just hasn't had too great of performances. However, I do think this could be a bounce-back spot for him. He had to play Orlando twice, who plays at a really slow pace. As you can see, they barely cracked 100 points here and just did it here. Had to play Boston, who plays at a slower pace, but you can see in a more up-tempo game, like what happened versus Washington, he had 46 fantasy points there. So he does have some upside, but I don't know that this is the greatest matchup for many of these guys. Tobias Harris is under 7K, I think that looks somewhat reasonable. But yeah, I don't think this is that interesting of a game, but can Joel Embiid bounce through and actually have a big game? Who knows? Brooklyn Phoenix. Kyrie Irving out should mean more minutes for Spencer Dinwiddie. His price reflects that. It is a good matchup. I think D. stands out the most to me in this particular matchup. His price at 7.7 is still within range of the upside that he has. Oubre is in play at 7.1. Rubio has a Q tag, so he might be back in the mix. So those cheap guards that were of value today might not be there as much tomorrow. Other than that, with Kyrie Irving out, he takes a lot of usage up. So guys like Taurean Prince, Karis LeVert, Garrett Temple become viable, as well as Joe Harris. Out of all those guys, simply because of his price, I like Garrett Temple the most for a value play for Brooklyn. And then obviously if Devin Booker is always in play at 8.6. He doesn't have as much upside though, but I think DeAndre Ayton is the one who stands out to me the most for Phoenix. Let's keep moving this thing along. We got Boston, Atlanta. Notable for Boston, Kemba Walker is out, and Marcus Smart might also be out, which would mean guys like Brad Wanamaker and potentially like Brandon Goodwin. Oh, sorry, Brandon Goodwin plays for Atlanta, sorry. Who else? Carson Edwards might actually pick up some more than usual minutes in this spot. So Brad Wanamaker might be a chalk play if Marcus Smart is ruled out. If Marcus Smart is in, I don't necessarily like Marcus Smart at 6.6. I think that's just too expensive. But I do really like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown at their prices. It's amazing to me that Gordon Hayward is actually more expensive right now than Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I like both these guys, though, in this matchup. Potentially John Collins could be an okay play. Trae Young also might not play in this matchup. He's got a Q tag, so definitely keep your eye out on that. Detroit, Memphis. This is a pretty interesting one for me. Derrick Rose might not play, and Bruce Brown's only 3.8 after having 46 fantasy points the other night when Derrick Rose got injured and he got a lot of run towards the end of the game. So I don't know why he's only still at 3.8, but that stands out to me quite a bit from this game. Other than that, I think some of these Memphis guys are in good spots. Valanciunas, Morant, Jackson. I think just due to price enforcement, I think Morant and Jackson Jr. stand out to me the most as potential plays. You could also think about rostering someone like Jay Crowder. Reggie Jackson is in play, especially if Derrick Rose is out. And that about does it for that game. Minnesota, Sacramento. Towns at 10.6 to me that's too much of a price tag for me to pay, but De'Aaron Fox at 8.2 is still very much viable. Andrew Wiggins is in play at 7K. Buddy Hield at 6.2 is in play. Napier at 6.2 is in play, but to me, a lot like Towns, his price, he doesn't have too much upside left at that price. Bielitsa for me is a little more interesting, mainly because Dedmon and Holmes both have Q tags, and he rotates through the center position if both those guys are out. And Bagley's out. So keep an eye on Rashawn Holmes and Dwayne Dedmon-News to see who might actually be playing center minutes. If both those guys are out, Bielitsa would rotate through the center, and then also Harry Giles might pick up some minutes. So if that's the case, Harry Giles could definitely be a value play to look for in this particular matchup. Also, something that stands out to me is Harrison Barnes is only 4.3. That seems dirt cheap, and the reason is because of his last, 3-4 games. He's just put up really bad numbers. But if all those big men are out, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be taking like mid to high double-digit shots and can't have 30 point upside at a reasonable price tag. Last time they played Minnesota, he did play 39 minutes, but he only took 7 shots. So he really hasn't been taking any kind of a shot volume recently, and I'm not sure what factors lead to that, but maybe something you want to dig into, because that stands out as too cheap of a price for me. I'm guessing it's probably because Bogdanovich has been back in the mix. So final game of the night, San Antonio, LA. It looks like Paul George is going to be back in the mix, although he's probably going to be on a minutes restriction, so I don't know if I'd go there at 7.8. You did see earlier in the year when he was on like a 20 to 25 minute restriction, he somehow still managed to put up like 45, 50 fantasy points in some matchups, but I don't think I would gamble on him shooting like perfect from the field, basically, to be able to exceed this price. That being said, I think LaMarcus Aldridge stands out to me a little bit. His price tag has dipped down a little bit because he missed a game or something, and I forget what happened, but seems like kind of a low price tag, and he should get mid to low 30s minutes. And the center position for the Clippers is definitely the weakest spot on the floor for them. These two teams could play at a reasonably high pace. They kind of could just be a shootout if both teams are shooting well. So there could be some interesting plays from this game, especially since it's the late night hammer. But it looks like there are no Q tags or O tags for either side of the ball, which is pretty unusual. That being said, there's only two guys for San Antonio who you can count on for consistent minutes, and that's DeRozan and Aldridge. So a lot of these other guys, it's tough for them to count on minutes. DeJounte Murray is still only 5.2 though, so he's definitely in play in tournaments. And then I guess, pick your poison for the rest of these guys, but could be an interesting late night hammer. So that was a quick run through of the 10-game slate. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been Fast DFS Picks, and please like, comment, and subscribe for this early take, for more of these early takes and quick run-throughs of slates for the NBA fantasy, and we'll see you guys next time.